Very good evening. You're watching India Today Go Live on social media. I'm Nabila Jamal, as always, bringing you the roundup of the day's news. Let me start with the implosion that's happening within the political circles of Maharashtra. We're looking at some serious allegations against the Maharashtra government of extortion made by top cop Parliamentary Singh. Now that's taken a whole new turn with several more allegations coming to fore, and this time the allegations on cash for position or cash for transfer. This is the allegation that's come up that in fact a senior cop, Rashmi Shukla, she had come out with a report suggesting very clearly in that report with proof that there were several people, agents and even cops who were involved in a nexus who took money to give favored positions and posts. Now, this report was reportedly given to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, and he handed this over to the Home Minister Anil Deshmukh. And Anil Deshmukh, instead of actually acting upon that report filed by Rashmi Shukla, who was an intelligence unit commissioner, instead of acting on it, he shunned her itself. He moved her aside and promoted those who were mentioned in that report as corrupt. Now, this is exactly the allegation here, which of course the Shiv Sena and the Mahagadi government has rejected. In fact, the NCP claims that Rashmi Shukla is a BJP agent and there was no truth to her report there, and she did not take permission before tapping officers' phones, and therefore her report cannot be considered, and that nobody mentioned in that report were given transfers. So this is the justification, but nonetheless, we're looking at some serious allegations here with the BJP now really extracting out of this. The BJP, Devendra Fadnavis, former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, came out, held a press conference, point by point rebuttals that he gave on whatever that NCP Chief Sharad Pawar said about Anil Deshmukh not being available to meet with Sachin Vaze or any other cop or anybody for that matter, because he was in quarantine, he was being treated for COVID-19, he was in isolation, whatnot. Here is Fadnavis, who says very clearly in his press conference that Anil Deshmukh was very much available even though he was in quarantine. That's the image that he's given to Sharad Pawar. According to Fadnavis, Fadnavis says that Anil Deshmukh has tried to paint a picture to Sharad Pawar saying that he was in isolation, but in reality Anil Deshmukh was indeed secretly meeting several police officers, and there was a lot of communication with Sachin Vaze as well, is what Fadnavis says. So Fadnavis also going on to speak about the allegations against the Home Minister, saying that Uddhav Thackeray knew very well about Anil Deshmukh's corrupt past, and he in fact had many complaints that has come to him as well according to sources, and Uddhav Thackeray has refused to act. And speaking about the cash for transfer, about the positions and transfers within the police department for money, Devendra Fadnavis says that during his time as well, there were reports like this that came forward and he acted upon it. This time too, when the issues came forward, it was, in fact, Uddhav Thackeray was appraised about it, but he refused to do anything about it. Instead, he buried it under the carpet. So we're looking at the BJP now demanding for the resignation of Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray and Home Minister Anil Deshmukh, saying that this is an extortionist government and this trend must end at the earliest, and that the Maharashtra Mahagadi government should take a moral stand and sack Anil Deshmukh, and Chief Minister himself should resign. So this is the kind of backlash that we are seeing. Nawab Malik from the Shiv Sena and the NCP from the Mahagadi government has been speaking up and speaking out, defending Sharad Pawar and all those statements that he made. In fact, a lot of the BJP leaders hit out at Sharad Pawar, saying that he had no knowledge about Anil Deshmukh's whereabouts and his his availability during those days. But Nawab Malik says that what Sharad Pawar said was right, and that there is no evidence to implicate Anil Deshmukh, and as of now NCP will not sack Anil Deshmukh or will not pressurize him to quit or resign. So we're looking at a lot of political developments there, while the NIA as well as the ATS are currently investigating into the Ambani bomb scare case. Remember, all of this has come about. It triggered off from the Ambani bomb scare case. While the NIA started probing into this case, they found out Sachin Vaze suspended top cop's involvement in this case, and then Sachin Vaze is linked to the Shiv Sena, Sachin Vaze is linked to the NCP, and his link to the Home Minister, of course. He was working right under the Home Minister. The Parliamentary Singh, the former Commissioner of Police of Maharashtra of Mumbai, accused Home Minister Anil Deshmukh of directly coordinating with Sachin Vaze itself and asking him, or rather ordering him, to bring in 100 crore rupees every month to fill in the coffers. So this is the kind of nexus that we are talking about, which triggered off from the Ambani bomb scare case. And now we see this situation getting only murkier, with Sachin Vaze's involvement in this case becoming all the more apparent and evident. Here is the ATS, a little earlier today, who came forward. The anti-terror squad of Maharashtra has now very categorically said that it was Sachin Vaze who was behind the death of the Scorpio car. The Scorpio car, found right outside Ambani's residence, laden with explosives. That Scorpio car's former owner, Hiren Mansukh, was found dead, and then there were lots of reports of a murder conspiracy behind it. In fact, family of Hiren Mansukh cried foul, saying that there is attempt to cover up this it's a murder and people are trying to cover it up. We want it to be investigated. That's when the NIA jumped in as well. And now it's all the more apparent that Sachin Vaze was behind this murder as well, and in this entire Ambani bomb scare case. This was the man, Sachin Vaze was the man, according to ATS, who conspired this entire this crime scene. Now, what was the reason for Sachin Vaze to come out with this, to indulge in such a crime, such a serious crime? That remains to be established as yet. But sources do tell us that Sachin Vaze just wanted to crack a high-profile case. He had a dream or a vision to come out as a hero by cracking a high-profile case, and he himself staged this entire act. This is what sources tell us. Of course, we can't give you a confirmation on that because we are yet to hear from the ATS, from the NIA, on exactly what the motive of Sachin Vaze was. But these are reports that come in that this could be just Sachin Vaze's act. He wanted to show that he could crack a high-profile case, and he staged this entire act, this threat and scare to the Ambanis. And then eventually, when he realized that this was getting murkier because the central agencies jumped in, that's when Hiren Mansukh, the ex-owner of the car, was summoned. Even in fact, Sachin Vaze himself summoned Hiren Mansukh. They met multiple times. He was questioned. Hiren Mansukh was questioned, and then eventually, a day before, 2-3 meetings later, he was found dead in a Mumbai creek. So, was it murder? Was it not? All those questions were lurking around, which the ATS has now put to rest, saying Sachin Vaze himself, he may not have been at the crime scene when Hiren Mansukh was killed, but he indeed ordered the death of Hiren Mansukh. Now, let me give you some details about this case, particularly on Hiren Mansukh's murder. We're looking at the NIA now, who's looking into this case, alleging that Sachin Vaze is the brain behind this entire murder. The ATS says that even though Vaze wasn't present at that crime spot, he was the one who ordered Hiren Mansukh's killing. In fact, to avoid suspicion, the ATS claims that Sachin Vaze allegedly used SIM cards which were procured from Gujarat for communication instead of his own phone. So he's used 5 SIM cards, which was brought to him by this bookie who's also been arrested. This bookie basically bought him 5 SIM cards, and Sachin Vaze was using these SIM cards to communicate and come out with this entire crime scene, the Ambani bomb scare, then murder of Hiren Mansukh, all of that. So these 5, in fact, the bookie's name is Naresh Gaur. He's been arrested. Here, the agency claims that Sachin Vaze conducted searches at hotels in Mumbai to establish his defense. In fact, what's very pertinent here is a call at 8:20 p.m. on Hiren's phone, which prompted him to step out from his house, that proved the crucial that proved this entire case and cracked the mystery behind this case. And according to the ATS, this particular call at 8:20 p.m. that came to Hiren Mansukh's phone was from the same number, a SIM card that was used by Sachin Vaze, which was procured from Gujarat. Like I said, 5 SIM cards were brought in by a bookie given to Sachin Vaze, and he was using those 5 SIM cards. A Gujarat number in one of that was used to call Hiren Mansukh at 8:20, because of which Hiren Mansukh stepped out and went somewhere to meet someone, and after that never came back. And here is how the ATS cracked the murder, saying, observing here that Sachin Vaze himself has conspired again on this in this murder case, and he was the one who ordered for Hiren Mansukh's murder. So what we see here on the whole is that Sachin Vaze who is a senior cop in the police department. He was in fact once suspended in the past as well, and he joined this Shiv Sena in the middle and then came back to the police department, was working right under Anil Deshmukh, the Home Minister of Maharashtra. This man who has close proximity to the Mahagadi government politicians, even superseding the police commissioner itself. Parambir Singh was a police commissioner. He barely, according to reports on ground, barely directly dealt with Parambir Singh. He would rather supersede him and deal with the politicians directly, including Anil Deshmukh, the Home Minister. So for a man like him to be the prime accused in the Ambani bomb scare and Hiren Mansukh case shakes up the Maharashtra government at this moment. And quite clearly the BJP is feasting on this, demanding for the resignation of Uddhav Thackeray, the Chief Minister. Now at a time like this, we're looking at Congress of Maharashtra in a huddle to decide whether or not they must demand Anil Deshmukh's resignation. Remember, Shiv Sena is also not very happy. Anil Deshmukh is an NCP leader. The NCP says they're not going to ask Anil Deshmukh to resign. Now it's left the entire government in threat, and Congress and Shiv Sena, both the other allies, are now worried whether, because of Anil Deshmukh, the entire government will crumble, and therefore they're thinking whether or not to ask him to resign. Initially, they wanted to push for it, but then with NCP chief Sharad Pawar backing Anil Deshmukh, they stopped short. But it seems like one after the other, we're looking at more strings coming out, and the ATS and the NIA and central agencies, BJP is also picking on it. The Parambir Singh has knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court, asking for the Supreme Court to conduct a CBI probe into the allegations he's made of hafta collection in Mumbai on Anil Deshmukh. So with this kind of allegations surrounding Anil Deshmukh, he could be a liability for the Maharashtra government, which is why they're looking at asking him to resign. But so far, no talk on that has happened. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Now, let me quickly cut across the poll-bound states. West Bengal, we're looking at massive rallies that's being carried out by the BJP. Big guns, Amit Shah, JP Nadda, Yogi Adityanath, all the big BJP leaders are currently on ground. Massive campaign trails, pompous campaigns that's being carried out by the BJP. They're known for that. BJP leaders are war horses. Their campaign, usually they're not, are successful in attracting that kind of crowd, and that, and also attracting eyeballs, and a very awe-inspiring campaign that the BJP carries out time and again, and that's what we saw right now a little while ago of Amit Shah as well. Huge campaign trail, lots of people, huge crowds, and very grand. But one thing that we can't help here is to notice that none of them are following COVID protocols. As much as we speak of the whole country now, they're looking at a COVID surge all across. We're looking at BJP, we're looking at TMC, any other party, Tamil Nadu's AIADMK, DMK, LDF in Kerala, everyone, UDF, flouting COVID norms. They're all out there campaigning as if there's no COVID. But who's to say? The netas themselves are indulging in this. Now here we're looking at Mamata Banerjee, who's hit out at the BJP, accusing the BJP of conspiring against her and blaming them for the injury that she has on her foot. In fact, she says the BJP is very intimidated by Mamata Banerjee, and they do not want to be humiliated, and they don't want a humiliating defeat in West Bengal, and they're very scared that if Mamata Banerjee was fine, then she would be touring across the length and breadth of West Bengal, and there was no chance that BJP would come to power, and therefore they conspired against her and got her injured. Now she said this again on a campaign trail. She said this in the past as well, and then it was after Election Commission says there was no conspiracy and that this was a mistake. This was an incident that happened. Also, security lapse was there, and Election Commission dealt with those security personnel, but there was no hand of anybody else. So the Election Commission deal, but Mamata Banerjee sticks to her ground. Now she says all the more louder and clearer during her campaigns on the stage as well today. She said that it was the BJP who got me injured because they're scared that I will campaign across Bengal. They don't want to be defeated, and that's why they did so. But nonetheless, we're looking at some really heated campaigns in West Bengal. While law and order situation is still a trouble, East Midnapur, we saw some clashes between the TMC and the BJP, while TMC candidate was coming out of a particular area, was taking out a procession in a particular area. We believe BJP workers stopped them or blocked the road there, and it led to a clash, and then Election Commission officials also tried to deal with it. Even the police, as well as central forces for that matter, the BSF, who are currently on ground just to maintain law and order in West Bengal, they came down, cracked down, used lathi charge to disperse the crowds and calm the crowds there. So we're still seeing very tense, sensitive, volatile situations in pockets of West Bengal because it's such a charged atmosphere with the TMC and BJP and now at loggerheads. The election results will surely be interesting to note and watch. We're looking at just weeks ahead of the West Bengal going to the first phase of polls, barely 2 weeks. Alright, now in Assam we're looking at already BJP now unveiling the manifesto for Assam, and in Assam the BJP has made some 10 commitments to the people of Assam. In fact, BJP has vowed to work on a corrected NRC for Assam's protection, and also has said, reiterated, and this time very clearly, that CAA will be implemented in letter and in spirit. Remember earlier they were very silent on CAA in Assam, but here after we saw Congress also hitting out at the BJP saying, why are you so silent about implementing CAA in Assam, while you say West Bengal you'll implement it, Assam you're quiet, then you in Tamil Nadu you're not saying anything, while your own ally is saying that you will not they will not implement it. So here the BJP now coming forward with conviction and saying that they will implement CAA even in Assam. And they've also pledged for the people of Assam that they will speed up delimitation process in this state to shelter political rights of the people. And the Saffron Party has also promised 30 lakh deserving families of Assam financial support to the tune of 3,000 rupees per month under the Arunodaya scheme. Let me cut across. We're looking at some serious allegations here by a Lok Sabha MP against an independent Lok Sabha MP in Maharashtra against Shiv Sena MP Navneet Rana, who is an MP independent, this lady called Navneet Rana, independent MP from Amravati. She has accused Shiv Sena MP Arvind Sawant of threatening her. She says that while in the corridors of the parliament, while the parliament session had a break in the corridors, because she was really loudly, vociferously accusing the Sena government of this kind of, or rather highlighting the allegations made by Paramveer Singh and asked for accountability by the Shiv Sena and the Mahagadi government. And she also spoke about Uddhav Thackeray and whatnot. Here is an allegation that she makes, that while she stepped out of the parliament, this Shiv Sena MP Arvind Sawant threatened her, saying that if she talks anything about the Shiv Sena or Uddhav Thackeray, she will be attacked, put to jail, and acid will be thrown on her face. That was the allegation that she's made. Quite a shocking allegation there. Arvind Sawant, of course, has denied these allegations, saying that this is absolutely false. I never said anything like that. And if it is true, then there could have been witnesses. I'm sure there were people around that place. Someone can come forward. Whoever must have heard it should come forward and say it. But as much as he says that, this lady, Navneet Rana, is with conviction saying that she will also go ahead to file a police complaint because this is true. He said that he's going to throw acid on her face and put her to jail. He threatened her and she didn't take it lightly. She's been firing left, right on television channels, including on India Today. Alright, let me take you through Election Commission in Tamil Nadu. While Kamal Hassan was on the campaign trail, the Election Commission flying squad gave a surprise check. They stopped Kamal Hassan's convoy, bright shot in Tanjavur. They stopped his campaign truck. They entered, Election Commission officials entered into that van. Kamal Hassan was seated inside. They checked the entire van, and this visual, of course, we've been carrying through today. Kamal Hassan very well welcomed them with folded hands and said, please come in, please check the entire van. They checked everything. They didn't find anything, but it was quite a sight to see, because a superstar like Kamal Hassan has now come down to politics. He's now campaigning like a man, meeting with the commoners and shed all his starry airs and whatnot. And election commission officials stopping him and then, coming inside the van and, checking the entire van, and he was quiet, seated, waiting for the entire checks to take place. It was really something that we wouldn't see otherwise, a superstar like that in a spot. He took it quite well, but what was expected was that he raised double standards of the Election Commission. He said the Election Commission has such double standards because previously there was a politician very subtly hinting at a DMK leader. He says there was a politician in the past who they found crores of rupees from his house, the Election Commission. Until date, nothing has happened to him. There's no case, there's no conviction. Nothing has happened in that scenario, and yet he still welcomes the Election Commission to check his own van. But they should, if they are actually checking politicians and political parties and campaign trails, then they should also have punishment adequately if one is found guilty. So he says, I welcome this move, I welcome the check, but let's not have double standards. Alright, in the meanwhile, we're looking at Stalin, AIADMK's chief, MK Stalin there, alleging double stand on the CAA, like I did mention. He questions Jay Kumar, in fact, of the AIADMK, saying that Jay Kumar was happily drumming, with some of the Muslims, and he had a drum performance with Muslim community while his party voted in favor of CAA. He says you were trying to, cozy up with the Muslim community while your party itself voted for the CAA. And on one hand, you say that you will not allow CAA to be implemented. On the other hand, you voted for the CAA itself, and you're still an ally of the BJP. Stalin says that if at all you, Jay Kumar that is, you and 11 other MPs did not vote in favor of that CAA bill, then today that bill wouldn't have been passed. So we're looking at the DMK there targeting the AIADMK in Tamil Nadu over CAA and the double speak of that. Meanwhile, that's it. I more or less have completed most of the stories here, but I'll quickly tell you, BJP has released its manifesto for Tamil Nadu. The Saffron Party has promised to create 50 lakh new jobs in the state of Tamil Nadu and make it #1 in ease of doing business. The manifesto also promises to ban cow slaughter and assures to implement strict laws against religious conversions. So possibly the love jihad law might also come to. They promised that if they voted to power, they will bring it to Tamil Nadu as well through force, or in fact, it's also promised to set up multi-speciality government hospitals. Apart from that, they've also promised a sum of 6,000 rupees being given to fishermen every year, free tablets for students of class 9 and class 8 and 9, free computer tablets, 8 and 9, and doorstep ration delivery. So quite some big promises there that they made. Also, I'm going to end here with some good news. The vaccination drive is now open to people above the age of 45. So you no more have to carry a certificate of your comorbidities. If you're above the age of 45, you can get your vaccine. So go out there, get vaccinated, stay safe. Have a great day. Thank you.